for so many reasons. It really is a pleasure and an honor to be here with all of you, because for me, Haas has been a symbol of both home and hope throughout the years for me. Home, because my heart will always be connected to the mission of Haas and Cardinal Service, and hope because every single time I meet a Haas student, I know the world is in good hands. In fact, as I was jotting down notes for this talk, I couldn't help but remember the last time I was at Haas with a group of students. It was the night after it was a couple of months after the 2016 presidential campaign. I was Hillary Clinton's national political director, highest ranking Latina and daughter of an immigrant on that campaign. And let's put it this way, there was still a lot of rawness, but there I was, my first public address after the election, talking to a group of students and telling them that at that very moment, what we needed is for them to believe in and opt in to public service. After that talk, a Haas student, also a Latina, a first generation kid like me, waited to be the last person in the room to ask me a question. And then with a tired, sort of sad sigh, she sincerely asked, "What keeps you believing in public service, in government, in this country?" I immediately knew where she was coming from. As someone from an underserved farm working town in the Central Valley of California with parents who grew up in the fields as farm workers, for us, government was either invisible at best or punitive at worst. In my home valley, I saw the development of more prisons than schools and hospitals, even though we had the worst education and health outcomes, some of the worst in the entire country. My early view of government was that it decided to invest in having more prisons per capita than any other region, rather than invest in our education or health needs. So it was easy for me to see where her question came from about believing in government. I had just never been so sincerely asked how it was possible, even at the toughest moments, whether someone like me could still believe in government. And I gotta say, my answer probably surprised her. Of course, I said, I still believe government is the biggest place to make change at scale, which is why we need to be there. But I also said, honestly, sometimes it's hard, really, really hard. I've asked myself that question so many times throughout my public service career. As a high school teacher in my hometown, where a significant number of our students didn't have access to internet, even though we were just 4 hours from Silicon Valley. As the first Latina chief of staff in the history of the US Senate, and knowing that it had taken so long to have one voice, just one, at the table, even though the Latinx community had been the largest growing demographic for decades. Of course, as national political director in the 2016 election, trying and then wondering if we would ever electorally vote a woman to lead it. And as chief of operations, as for the former Attorney General Becerra, seeing the data of mass incarceration and easily figuring out exactly why my home region had mega prisons. I gotta say, each time I asked myself, I felt that same sense of sadness, because I knew I was making this difference as best I could, and in ways that no one else could, bringing the perspective I had, but it also felt like I could never do enough. The lesson in each of those roles was the same. What we needed is the system itself to change, a mindset shift, a different perspective, a new way. And I can say, as I look back now on my 20 years of public service, this moment we are in right now is different. We have a once in a generation opportunity for a change in and of government. For the first time in my career, really in my lifetime, we are seeing an openness to making systemic changes. As mentioned, I'm the CEO of Code for America now, and the last 15 months for us has been an exercise of not just showing governments what is possible, but creating a new reality of what it means when we say a government by the people, for the people in the digital age. When the pandemic hit, schools shut down. It meant close to 30 million kids would no longer have access to student lunch. Immediately, we heard from state leaders, state administrators who wanted to team up to find students. Schools didn't have the most updated records, neither did social services, the county, or the state. And if they did have records, there was no distribution mechanism to get lunch, resources, or even a simple message of where to find food for kids who were hungry. So we started tackling the problem by putting kids at the center of the process, asking where is the best place to communicate with families online today? Who was the best trusted messenger? What was the best way to help families get or purchase food for their kids? In partnership with public servants across the country, we created a people-centered process utilizing community-based organizations, modern data matching techniques, emergency policy changes. In total, we distributed $600 million for groceries, and most importantly, we changed the belief of what is possible when you bring in new voices to public service, see people who have been left out, and center some of the hardest to reach communities. We believed and committed in a new way, and it made all the difference. And I gotta say, this is just the beginning. We as a country now have a national directive to reduce child poverty by 50% and ensure programs track and achieve equitable outcomes. I can't believe we are talking about equitable outcomes. We boldly recognize the need for diverse leadership at the highest levels of public service in order to reach our full potential as a country. And I gotta say, don't buy into old frames when you hear about big or small government or for government to just get out of the way. Those conversations are dated and miss the real potential ahead. It isn't big or small to change government so that family programs can be accessed online like most needs today, or to get your tax refund automatically instead of sending in information that the government already has. And it's not a matter of government getting out of the way when kids are hungry or vaccines need to be distributed. The future of our country won't be defined by the size of government or the dated conversations about partisan policy or politics. It will be defined by whether we took this moment to change our belief of and in government. That, in fact, our government is exactly that, our government, a collection of dedicated public servants rising to meet the opportunities and challenges of the world. So let me close by centering one piece of data for you. More than a third of federal employees will be eligible for retirement in the next 4 years, while only 6% are under 30. And most state governments have an even bigger gap. What my answer would be today to that Haas alumna, and if you're out there, you might be, and a message to all of our students online as well. How do I keep believing in this work? Because government is still the place to make change at the greatest scale, and the time has come for you to do just that. A new chapter is here, and this generation of public servants has the chance to do it differently, better. You will be in charge of governing the country that is more diverse, tech-oriented, more talented, more world-aware, and at the same time facing complex world challenges that require the entire planet to cooperate on an expedited timeline. What we have done in the past won't work. It's a new world for you to lead in a new way. So in the words of Amanda Gorman on the steps of the Capitol, government, public service is yours to shape. If only you're brave enough to see it, if only you're brave enough to be it. Thank you as always, Haas, for your commitment to public service.